All right, and today we're back for another episode of Nick's Picks, and we're going over Skeleton Man. Skeleton Man was a movie from 2004. Me and my brother first saw it on the Sci-Fi Channel. It is a movie directed by Johnny Martin, written by Frederick Bailey, starring one Michael Rooker and others. Casper Van Dien, classic Rico.
Yep.
What did you say? This movie was filmed in, you said Bulgaria, but...
I mean, IMDb mentioned Bulgaria and California, but clearly this film was all over the place in terms of cinematography, right?
And we could mention we're gonna mention the how while we're talking about the movie. The why is basically there's no why. It just is. It's just Skeleton Man.
I mean, if you had to ask a why for every sci-fi original movie, I think you'd be
suffering.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean,
poor guy. What did he even do?
Oh, he's attacking the computer. You could have killed him with that. No. Like, he literally wasted no time in this movie getting to the. Oh no!
Ooh, that
she took the axe pretty well, didn't she?
It's a glancing blow.
All right, so we're gonna run down the movie first and just kind of go through the plot, and then kind of talk about at the end about what we like about the movie, about our past with the movie, and any thoughts we kind of have about it. Trying to
kind of says a lot about us that we even have a past with this movie.
This is so I would say this might be integral to me as a person in this movie.
It's foundational piece.
So we start with the intro is basically kind of like with a lot of horror movies, just tries to give you like a recap of basically the entire movie, with giving us the setup of a paleontologist going over Native American things that they took from whatever. You already know bad stuff's going to happen because of that. Then we get Lady on the phone, which leads to Skeleton Man coming out of nowhere and starting to just kill them all.
And blows the house up.
Blows the house up. He, gloriously enough, like one of the things I always remember from the scene is he reaches through the guy to pull out his skull from the other side. Yeah. We assume it's his skull.
I mean...
If it's just a different skull, then I don't know.
But he already has a skull in his head. It would make sense if he had no skull yet.
At that point,
and then he put the skull onto his head, therefore that was Skeleton Man. That would be an introduction to his character. But no, they didn't even have that forethought. They just went right through...
So that was just that could have just been a skull he wanted.
I mean, I guess I agree with you. It probably was his skull. That's the theory behind it. But, like, again, this movie is perfect because it's got these individual scenes which are great to enjoy. But it's like those scenes don't actually connect to each other in any way other than the fact that they're gratuitous violence.
And Skeleton Man shows up.
Yeah, and he's
basically
violence.
Yeah, right.
But like, I mean, if you just watch those scenes alone, you'd probably be better off than watching the entire movie, actually, because it doesn't make any more sense watching the movie.
The clips.
Than it does. Yeah, watch the clips exactly. But
he kills these people, and the funny part too is he chases this woman down who gets to like an underground like pipe shaft. I don't know where the heck that comes from in the middle of the woods. And just death and explosions, because explosions will be a running theme in this movie, I think.
You can definitely tell what parts they filmed at the same time, for sure. Right? Any parts inside the factory building were clearly all shot together. Parts in the woods were shot differently, at a separate time.
He's gonna whack her with the wrench.
Huh, are you bleeding?
He's got a shotgun? What? That's part of your equipment? And trying to run down this movie sequentially, the next part is basically they show two guys who are part of this army squad or something like that they send out, which I don't know why they're out there, but they're already being hunted by Skeleton Man in the middle of the woods. The army's already... that doesn't make very much sense unless they're out there surveying or something. So they sent our real main characters, the second squad, to go find them. So we just see them kind of getting harassed by Skeleton Man until we get to our real main character showing up.
Michael Rooker and his gang.
And the posse.
Which their introduction is amazing. We love that part. Right?
It's you and your friends hiking into the woods.
With the airsoft guns.
You can't see the guns.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They don't show any of the guns. They got backpacks. They got backpacking frames that aren't even filled out with stuff.
They're supposed to be 80 clicks away from civilization. But yet their backs are pretty much empty, so...
That would make sense. It's in Bulgaria.
80 clicks from civilization.
It's a Bulgarian joke.
Hey, we actually both been to Bulgaria. Look at that. I mean, that waterfall's got to be in Bulgaria, right? Because it ain't California. Oh, sorry. We're jumping ahead of ourselves here.
Actually, I didn't write down when that scene takes place. I think it's after because we basically, what we're going to come to now in the movie's structure as we go forward is basically going to be scene, person dies, cut to other thing to break it up, pretty much.
It's the gang hiking. They stop, they squat, they look at something. Then
They stop, they squat, yeah.
It cuts to someone getting murdered by Skeleton Man, who is completely unrelated to the plot, most likely. And then they get up and they move to another spot to squat and check out something else. And then maybe one person will walk away from the gang and get murdered.
They got the
about it.
So like after the first introduction of the team, which we've got, it's a really weird how they introduce. So they introduce them all like their names, but they also introduce them as what their
Specialty.
Yes, their specialties are. Yeah. The strangest one is the underwater demolitions expert.
Just think about that for 2 seconds.
So if you actually pay attention to all of these specialties, so many of them seem absolutely pointless for what they're doing for their mission.
Well, it also doesn't come back at all.
No,
you would think that their specialty would somehow relate to what their skills are.
The saboteur lady? What are they sabotaging? Skeleton Man?
They had like
trying to sabotage his horse?
Was it like information technology or
long range recon specialist?
Something like that? Yeah.
Combat and demolition saboteur instructor.
Scott, long distance intel gathering.
So they cut from them to a factory scene where there's a couple of these spliced in the movie, but this is the first one where it just seems like Skeleton Man shows up at a factory and kills a bunch of dudes, and then we cut back to the team. Absolutely pointless. Well,
my theory is that it's somewhere inside this movie. Well, yes, that, but also like there's supposed to be some sort of environmental message, maybe that Skeleton, because he's supposed to be Native American, and he's supposed to be. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but he's dealing with this. I think is it supposed to be nuclear power? Energy,
it's a chemical plant, I guess.
Plant, yeah, some sort of energy plant. And he's fucking with this energy plant for some reason. So I think that there's supposed to be a connection there. Like he's got it out for this energy plant. But at the same time,
we're about to get to actually his backstory, which
get the backstory,
has absolutely nothing to do with
it. The backstory, yeah, exactly.
But before that, before we get to the backstory, they leave one girl behind. Says, "I'm gonna pull back and cover your rear," and we never see her again. Well, we do. We see her die from Skeleton Man, but we never see anybody in the entire team mention her again or care about her.
I think they mention her right as soon as she leaves. They after a minute after she disembarks from her group. They're like, "Where would she go?" And they're like, "Oh, she'll catch up with us. She's an outdoor expert or some sort, you know."
And bye, lady.
Yeah, that's it. She's done.
So they obviously don't give a shit about each other. And then they meet an old Indian guy sitting in the middle of I assume it's an old Indian guy sitting in the middle of the woods. I don't know what else they'd be going for.
He must be Indian, even though he's definitely not Indian. He's got white wig on, I think. I don't even think it's a
shit on his face. Yeah. But and he tells him the backstory of Skeleton Man, which is called Cottonmouth Joe. Yep. Yeah, you want to tell the backstory? As best as you can kind of recollect what it is, yeah.
There was a chief, and he pointed at Skeleton Man.
He's getting married, and he points at Skeleton Man.
And Skeleton Man goes, no, or something like that. He says, nah.
Doesn't like it.
And then he walks away, picks up some weapons, and starts massacring everybody. Pretty much that's it.
And he doesn't even do like the he walks into like the middle of the group and starts whacking people.
Just beating them and with his club and his knife, and I think he kills some children.
Screaming, and there's a little kid is like, don't kill me, so he kills the little kid.
Yep.
And then he looks, and then you get the idea that
maybe, I think
the woman was a woman he liked or something, but that's it.
She pulls a bow out and shoots him, right?
She kills him
with the bow, yeah. So I think what they're trying to suggest is that his spirit of vengeance was somehow tied to his body, and that was what the archaeologist picked up in the beginning, sort of like a curse kind of thing. But they also implied that he liked to fight the strongest warriors or something like that. So this is where the whole Predator clearly influence or copy is. Where like the Cottonmouth Joe character is supposed to be basically the Predator out to find the biggest and baddest enemies to kill.
To think how much better the movie would have been like if they made a couple tweaks where his insanity or his whatever he did had something to do with environmentalism or the environment or something, and then you could have rolled the whole thing into like the white man's poison made him go crazy to kill his own people, so his soul was trapped. Like, something like that would have tied the movie in more than just...
Yeah, like we're saying, there's two different movies there. There's the anti-environmental, or there's the environmentalist movie about power sources with the power plant thing. Like, he could have been a curse to, stop pollution or something. And then there's the Predator movie where he's fighting the strongest warriors. Those are two separate movies. But yet they had to splice them both in together in this one to make a completely incomprehensible mess.
And, well, before we move on to, I think, the fishing thing, just the only last thing that needs to be said about that scene is beans.
Beans, yes. Oh, yes, you're right.
Beans are good.
You got any beans?
I don't know, you hungry? You want some?
Beans is good. You just heat them, and they're good to go.
Next thing they do is they move out a little bit. Like they say, they mention the lady that they're missing. They decide now's the time to go tactical. No, before that, they go back to check on the old man who's now gone for some reason, even though they just walked 10 feet away. Yep. Now it's time to go tactical. They pull all their guns out and immediately lose all their camping gear.
Yep.
In the meantime, if you see anything at all, we go tactical.
They never reload, ever. We did double check that.
Yeah, so obviously. Now, after they've gone tactical, which is the moment where I wonder why the lady didn't pull out her gun earlier and try to shoot Skeleton Man, they get a couple scenes of Skeleton Man, actually attacking them as a group, which, as we've said earlier, involves basically them getting drawn out one at a time for some reason.
Well, it's not easier to kill you one at a time. I mean, also it's a
lot easier to explain, why they don't all die, but...
It's a lot easier to show a scene without any other characters in it. Skeleton Man just whacks someone's head off with a club, instead of having to show Michael Rooker standing in the background there watching it.
You're true. Those stunt scenes take a time. Yeah, they can't
do them all at once with the horse. Probably had the horse for a day or two. Oh, let's get these backpacks to squeeze our tits together. Right?
We lost our compass. How are we going to survive
this path in the woods?
I know, right? Rural New England. And so at this point, who dies next? One of the ladies dies. I think.
They're all kind of replaceable.
One of the guys dies.
Was it? But then did they find the hunters? Was that after?
Oh no.
Well, let's talk about the fisherman scene. That's one of the
Before then, we've got the fishing scene, the classic fishing scene.
Yes. Oh.
This is what the whole movie's based around. Is actually this fishing scene.
Yes. You could just show that, and then you have to watch the movie because you have to know how it got there.
Basically, no context. It's basically the perfect out of context scene.
Yeah, it is great.
We don't know where the fishing guy is. We don't know where the waterfall is. We don't know where Skeleton Man is. Yep. Yet they all have intersected.
Yep, exactly. They reach Skeleton Man, says, "Hey, are you fishing over a waterfall without a permit?
Well, are you some kind of ass?"
Yeah.
And so we had the next thing we get is, I think the scene took place before, but it rounds into this, is that we get, what's his name, Rico? Yep. Running, okay. Oh, yeah. This is the scene. I'm going to try to explain it as best I can. Rico and Woman are talking to each other. He says, I'll be right back or something like that. Cover me or whatever. And he just decides to run into the wilderness until he gets to the highway.
Well, I think it's more like that she leaves first.
But she's just sitting there. She doesn't move.
Okay, he gets
She's just covering a position.
Yeah, and then Skeleton Man finishes her off. And then next thing you know, Rico's wandering in towards the highway.
But he should know who the squad is. This man just...
Wait. Before you
I think he goes AWOL.
I forgot the important part. Right before that, they're at a nasty, dirty pond, and there's the blonde girl's thinking, "Oh man, I'm really tired." And then we get Michael Rooker character coming over and saying, "We're gonna have watches every hour," and she's like, "Okay, I'll try." And then next thing we know, we have Rico's character and the lady who
and they're talking to each other
on their watch.
Yep.
And next thing they know, they
every
both
hour.
just disappear.
Yep.
So there was no watch, really. It was just those two people.
Let's go. Wake up.
Chief, O'Brien, Davis, gone. Equipment, rifles, everything.
Rico gets to the highway, takes a truck, drives less than a quarter mile down the highway, trips it and blows it up, gets pulled out of the truck by Skeleton Man, and then we see him later. And it looks like he dies because they do about 6 cuts in a couple seconds of different things happening. Yeah.
They gotta cut him to like. It looks like Skeleton Man hits him, right, or
Yeah.
something.
We see that. We see the moon twice. I think.
Well, this definitely happened at night. That's important to know. Because next morning they wake up and they're like, "Hey, where did they go?"
Did anyone wake me up from my hour shift?
I know, our shit.
Not a single person. Wait, this is what happens when you have a movie that's filmed almost entirely in the woods, because it gets your brain all conjunction. Because then they lose. They've gone tactical and they have this shootout with Skeleton Man, and they've taken down. Well, they've taken down absolutely nothing actually, but they've got 2 people taken down.
And they're having the tactical event. Someone else gets killed or taken down. The blonde hair guy.
Yeah, the blonde hair. Yeah.
He
For the
gets
giant
taken
scope.
down with the scope. Yeah, whatever. Let's send the guy with the scope up as close as humanly possible to him. Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. It's got the checks out.
Okay, and this is because I'm about to say all these things we're talking about kind of take place very close, because then we get the shootout with the helicopter where Michael Rooker's like, we need help, so he calls in a helicopter strike in rural California or whatever, where the good old boys show up in their helicopter.
AK.
Yeah. Start shooting at Skeleton. So Skeleton Man does a one-on-one with the helicopter.
No, when you're in like a wilderness, sometimes you have to have it patrolled by a helicopter with a guy with an AK just ready to unload.
And missiles. They got missiles under there too that they never used.
Yeah, they never used. Do you think that was just the kid's project or whatever for school? Like, let's make some fake missiles and put it onto a...
So Skeleton Man first shoots the guy out of there, and then he shoots the rear propeller.
Oh wait. There was a third guy in the helicopter. So first of all, you only see 2 men in the helicopter. One with the AK, one driving it. Obviously, Skeleton Man kills the man with the AK. He falls out of the helicopter.
Who shoots super slow.
Yeah. And then there's another guy in the helicopter, happened to have a grenade launcher, who wasn't shooting before that, who decided to pick up arms only after his brother died, or friend, or whoever.
You took out Billy Bob. Give me the grenade launcher.
Give me the grenade launcher. I'm down.
And so the helicopter gets exploded. Michael Rooker takes it pretty well. It just,
I mean, he takes most of it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, most.
He loses people left and right, and he's not really crying. Although he has the hottest flashback scene, right?
Is that then? Okay, yeah.
It happens a little bit after that, I think, when the blonde lady and him are like.
Because the next part, the only next thing to really happen before we get to the factory thing at the end is basically he's got his last dude goes to fight Skeleton Man hand on hand, which is the Stuno, and one more lady dies with her head exploding.
Hell, I'm fucked. Huh. Oh. Turn around without looking forward. He's right there. Yeah! Oh, a glorious head explosion.
Because those are the most glorious scenes.
The head exploding girl's great.
It's like a watermelon, yeah, but popping.
Yes, the guy with the beanie and the top knot. What's it called? No, the
top. But it's on the back of his head though.
But
it's weird
bald.
for a top knot.
He's bald, right? You gotta
It's
go back there and check.
It's like a rat tail, maybe the longest one I've ever seen.
But he's bald on top.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense.
It
I
doesn't.
mean, and I also thought there was.
Is he like a Shaolin monk?
Right? How do you only grow a knot but be bald on top?
But it's basically the stupidest thing you'd ever imagine. Because it's like he's charging at him with the gun like in his hand, the way you shoot a gun as a club. Where you would think anybody else would take the gun and try to like you either use the stock or the front as like the handle.
Pretty sure also he's got a knife there somewhere.
Oh yeah, true. The braided hair girl had a giant knife, so why wouldn't he have at least something?
Pretty sure he had a knife. But nah, he's better off just charging Skeleton Man. And Skeleton Man beats him around a little bit and then kills him. So, yeah, pew! Loves to knock him around.
It's called the Worf treatment, Joe.
Yeah.
Where you just you get thrown around for a while, and you don't die.
Yes, the guy, the blonde hair guy, isn't he the one that he hit him and he flipped and landed back on his feet? Which is pretty
landed back on, which you would think he's okay, but we also didn't mention the hunters. But I don't know. I actually don't even know what the point of mentioning the hunters would be at this point. What point did the hunters have? That was another place that could have thrown in an environmentalist message, but there was no.
I feel like the hunters. No, it didn't have to be environmentalist. It could have been also part of the Predator theme.
If it breathes, I can kill it.
But yeah, let's just say before we go farther though, before we get to the industrial parts, I want to also mention the woods. The way these people shoot the woods is insane. The constant establishing shots they do of different parts of the woods, I feel like is trying to imply that they're moving, but yet they always shoot back when they're like just walking in the woods, like themselves. It's always the same open field or same like wooded area that they're always at. But yet they got these establishing shots of like mountains and waterfalls, but then they're always back in the same like dry leaf filled I don't know, open
'Cause
area.
there is a way of like shooting, establishing shots where it actually looks like you're moving, right? Where like you could start with it at the top of a mountain, further down, and then so you actually feel like you've done something instead of just. It feels like establishing shots of one location over and over again.
They're establishing shots of different locations, but they're
Sprinkled in places where it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. They got parts of these woods with just like the tall trees without any underbrush, and then they got other parts where there's pine forest. They got other parts where there's like these jungle forest looking areas. They got parts when they're in the mountains. It doesn't make this jungle area, this area that they're at. It's just incomprehensible. That's why again it makes more sense to me if it was some sort of mystical, like, everywhere zone kind of thing. Before we get to the woods, we have to talk about his attempt to kill Skeletor Man.
At the end.
One attempt to kill Skeletor Man.
I think before that, we get to some stupid scene where he falls down a ravine.
Oh, yeah,
the epic ravine that is, I don't even know how, yeah.
Give that stuntman some credit
Yeah.
there. He knew how to fall. He just kept throwing himself into
Hardest
the air.
working man on the
And he
set.
missed the trees. He missed all the trees. Lucky because, of course.
You can see him, do the dodge.
Yeah,
Woo!
yeah. He's definitely throwing himself as he falls. Get some air while he's going down.
And that's where we see the pit of bodies, I guess, that Skeleton Man is killed, which makes some sense, because some of these look like they're supposed to be bodies, which, if they're not actually bodies from the Native Americans, and he's just been killing people forever, maybe it makes sense, but...
No, because he's supposed
Wouldn't
to.
people
I thought
know?
the archaeology scene in the beginning was supposed to be implying that he
They
was only
unleashed him.
unleashed. Yeah.
Okay,
Which was
yeah.
just like, I don't know, what, a month or so? Or a couple weeks before they.
Then why are there mummified skeletons in the ravine?
That doesn't make any sense, obviously. I mean, it's literally.
Because the blonde-haired guy that they went with is down there, too, so it's like...
So, yeah.
These have to be his victims, I guess?
Exactly, yeah. You have to imply that it is Skeleton Man's victims that you threw down there for some reason. Just what? To show great.
And then you have the blonde lady throw a rope horizontally to her.
And he has to crawl back up. Oh, this hill, man. They were climbing mountains, goddammit, and then he needs a rope to get up a hill.
That's so... It's like...
Yeah, it's...
I don't know, yeah.
I'm highly trained.
You know what this reminds me of? He's been pointing the trees and kept going! He did that, look at him go!
Oh my, that's impressive stunt work right there from whoever did that.
Oh, I'm so hurt!
Obviously
I'm
not
so hurt right now. Did they get broken up one more time and this is where he makes his epic mine thing, or his epic...
Well, I think that was the part with just
Because I think
two of them.
she
Just the
got
blonde
knocked
girl
out
and
by
him.
a... Didn't she get knocked out by a tomahawk?
Well, that was during the fight with the blonde guy
Oh,
getting
okay.
killed. They both get knocked out. Michael
She gets something thrown in her face.
Yeah,
and
that
that
was
just takes her
pretty
out of
great.
combat.
Skeleton Man just warps into him. Just, "Ooh, knock you out,
Take that."
Yeah, I take that. Yeah. But
It's like a
then they also separate for some stupid reason. Michael Rooker's character decides to create some landmines out of grenades. I don't know.
Soda cans and grenades.
Yes, but then again, when he shows it, it's definitely not that. It's definitely like
It's some device that we've never seen before in all reality. I've never seen a
Spider-Man.
mine that looks like that.
It doesn't make any sense, and of course, it doesn't work at all. So it's completely pointless.
Just like everything else they've done.
Absolutely, it's a waste of complete time. And I don't even remember how they meet up later on. Did they find each other?
I think we got lucky because we
We got lucky.
well, we got lucky because there was a commercial break while we were watching this, and when it cut back, it felt like it made more sense. Because I think the next shot actually was another cut to the factory. Skeleton Man kills a bunch of people at the factory. Then we cut back to Michael Rooker, who finds the blonde lady, and then they go to the factory.
Well, but remember she was in the ambulance at the factory, right?
Yeah, he brings her there. I'm
Is that
pretty
what
sure.
happened?
Yeah.
So she got beat up by Skeleton Man before they got to the factory.
Yeah,
or
and then he
something.
and her get there, and then he goes into the factory to fight
literally
her.
incomprehensible.
It's basically the movie saying we have to wrap this up now.
wrap it up.
Yeah, we gotta wrap.
The thing is, throughout this entire movie, Skeleton Man was invulnerable. Nothing has done a single. There was one scene. Okay, you can go back to it if you find it out. Where I think it's the guy with the braid and the bald head shoots a Skeleton Man on his horse, and it shows a part where it hits the horse. I think, but it doesn't even look like the horse at all. It looks like some other thing. So double check that. So I think that's the only
if any
time
damage ever was
in
taken.
the movie where I think someone did a little bit enough to annoy Skeleton Man, either have him get off his horse but it didn't hurt him.
I'd argue the fishing man did some damage. There's no other reason for him to be killed.
Psychic damage.
He must have been doing something.
Moral. I mean, very upsetting. It was clearly like it reminds me of the commercial from the 70s, the Native American when they throw the trash and it has that one tear. Is that what's supposed to be going on this entire movie where like they're doing stuff to nature like, oh, he's fishing my beautiful streams?
Oh, that's why he killed the old Native American guy. He threw the can of beans on the ground, didn't he, probably?
Wait, he didn't kill the old American guy.
Oh, he didn't?
I don't think he just disappeared.
Oh, well, we didn't know that for sure.
I mean, we could assume maybe he did, but they
So
didn't
wait,
show it. They
so if he just disappeared, then went tactical for no reason.
No, they said well, next thing that happens, we're going to go tactical.
Next thing that
And then Skeleton Man shows up, and they go tactical.
Oh, I can't wait to have a moment in my life where I can use that line. Next thing that happens, guys, going tactical.
Pull all weapons out. If anything else happens,
Going tactical.
yeah.
Hold on. There's chemicals burning in there. There's a fire. There's bodies all over the place.
I have absolute federal authority here.
No, then they get to the factory, and the
And
factory part
it's-
is ridiculous.
It's kind of because we've gotten some factory scenes before this, but it also kind of feels jarring to me where it's like spent so much time in the woods, and now it's just like it's not even like like the pipe stuff from before. We get these like pipe corridors; they're interesting, but then it seems like a reactor set, and it kind of becomes like B movie-ish, of like,
Yeah, it reminds me of that MST3K episode with Rock Hard Chest, or what's that movie called? Because they had like a whole fight scene.
Dirk
in, like,
Fist groin.
Yeah, exactly. When they're in like just these big pipes everywhere. It's supposed to be in spaceships or something, but obviously it's a factory somewhere with just pipes, and they just film in a factory, and that's what they did here clearly at the end. But the thing is, honestly, I kind of wish they would just have not had like shown it before and just had it happen at the end, because the whole point, I thought, during the middle of the movie when they're in the woods, was the idea that they're supposed to be isolated.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be whatever 80 clicks from civilization, whatever the hell that means, and they can't just. That's also the Casper Van Dien part where he gets hit with when he goes
the
to the
highway.
car.
Yes,
Yeah.
the highway.
Both parts completely ruin the idea that they're supposed to be isolated, but they're not
Yeah.
isolated. They're clearly either close to civilization or something. So, if they just got rid of those parts and either left them to the end when they get out of their isolation, then maybe would have made more sense. But
Because it could have made sense with the only people they ever run into is the crazy old guy and hunters, right?
that'd be fine. Yeah.
That could have made, but then they're just walking to a chemical plant.
I thought it was a power plant, but I don't know what it is really.
Pretty sure they said chemical, but whatever. It doesn't-
10,000 volts. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
How much is 10,000 volts? Is that normal for a chemical plant or a power plant? We'll have to double check that.
Which this gets confusing here, because apparently Skeleton Man has already gotten to the power plant, killed a bunch of people, and is he just kind of rummaging around the power plant now, like Freddy or Jason, and just kind of like looking for more people to kill when he finds them? Because Michael Rooker goes in, there has like a showdown with him.
This guy's grenade launcher. He takes it from the cop.
But it's so stupid because it's like whatever showdown he has with him, he can't do anything to him.
He's done nothing to him before.
Yes.
So why was he automatically
And-
assuming this is the moment where I'm gonna hurt him?
And then why does Skeleton Man ever lose him? Because he does the stupid thing after that where he's putting these little grenade lines and stuff like that to trick Skeleton Man to going somewhere. But what is Skeleton Man doing other than hunting him down anyway? And it's like
He's Jason, basically.
But
he
he's-
just does a slow walk. He's like, I'm gonna get you.
But does he also just,
Yeah,
like-
got me. And then
does he also just sit off camera just like waiting like whatever?
I'm Nick. It's the wolf. Yeah. The wolf you feed.
They just had open bundle of
Yep.
charge.
Oh, he threw him across to a light. Man, Michael Rooker. Wow. It's impressive. His hat stays on. That's the most impressive part. Fucking baller hat. Never falls off.
Yeah, what is going on? But so there's one other scene where I feel like for a quick second it looks like Michael Rooker is just shooting at the scientist. It looks like he is just mowing him down with his shotgun.
Every shot goes behind the skeleton man.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it always, I think they're trying to say it goes through him, like he's incorporeal. But maybe they just couldn't afford to actually show him get hit with because they're holiday Halloween costume-esque garbage bag outfit couldn't take a.
They're putting fireworks probably on the walls behind him or something. Yeah. And so the whole plan of these stupid grenade things is he tricks. I don't know why Skeleton Man would understand any of this stuff, but tricks him into the reactor core.
Yeah.
And the plan is to start the reactor core.
Yeah, old trick in the book.
And we get a shot of Skeleton Man just standing in the reactor core like hello. And apparently we get a bunch of explosions.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's over. It's all over.
And I guess we assume Skeleton Man dies, even though I don't really think that probably happened, and we get Michael Rooker
No, he
just
blows
walking
up,
out of the
though.
factory.
Skeletor Man does you see chunks
Oh,
of
he
him come
does.
out, yeah.
But then what happens with the end credit shot, Joe? Ahead of its time, right?
That was an
end credit
That was a
scene.
prequel for Lord of the Rings, which comes later on. Well, actually, when does Lord of the Rings happen?
Didn't that come out before this? The end credit thing. What a confusing. The rewinding of the credits.
It's like you think it's over. Nope.
No.
Skeletor Man again.
It's so confusing because it's like, okay, you thought this was over. We got some more. Actually, we don't have any more. It was over.
Yeah.
It's like a parody of an end credit scene almost.
I mean, that would be fascinating to hear what the director was thinking.
Yeah.
Mr. What's his face? Martin, Ricky Martin, or whatever.
God,
Jimmy Martin. Sorry. I mean, yeah, that would be like, because he made these choices. He was producer and director. All the options, were up with him. So
that pretty much is the entire movie. We've gone through it. We've watched it. We've
sure it was
digested it.
the way we described it. And
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure no one could ever understand what we just described as a movie.
They'll have to watch it for themselves. So we saw this on Tubi. Give it a view.
It looks like Tom Brady, like
He's got the Chad chin. Look at that.
yeah.
He's got the Chad chin.
But he got the fake ass scars on his face.
How are we gonna rate this? What, out of 10?
I mean,
What?
is there any way to not rate it a 1 or 2?
Uh,
I mean, clearly, it's a really bad movie. There's no question. I mean, the only question is, what does a 1 mean to you? Is one like Mono's Hands of Fate, or is it like Monster
No.
of Go-Go? What is one like where you literally can't watch it because it's not a movie?
A one would be something so unentertaining that it's because at least a movie like this is bad enough where it can be funny. So that's why I think it gets a
All right, so
That's why I think it gets a 2.
2 or 3. Let's
Yeah.
go, yeah, 2.5. I think on IMDb it's 2.2, which is probably about right. I mean, I'd say a little bit better than that because it's got some pretty epic scenes, and there's some pretty bad movies out there that's got nothing. Like
It's got a decent head explosion for a movie because it's bad. So that's why I feel like when there's a bad movie that you're just laughing at, that's you meeting it way further kind of on its side, you don't need to be doing that, but so by doing that I feel like
But you might need to be drunk for it.
yeah, you might.
Yeah, drunk will help. Obviously, watching this film again, especially as an adult, I mean, this is what, been 2004, so it's been 20 years almost. Can you believe it? 20 years since. We should have done this next year for our 20-year anniversary, obviously, but whatever.
Our 20th.
I know, he doesn't deserve that. Anyway, the point is, watching it now, clearly, when I was younger, we used to make fun of these movies, and we love these sci-fi movies because they were so clearly, terribly made and shit, but they were hilarious. And we still get that nowadays watching it. It is hilarious. I think I can appreciate more, I feel like the choices being made in the film, or the lack of choices, put it that way, like the limitations of the budget, and it felt like a incomplete film, or a film that was just cut together of 2 different films than it was an actual, coherent idea. I mean, I feel like if you would ask the actual director, producer, Mr. Martin there, he would probably say, yeah, we half-assed this. We tried, but we needed to get finished by, we had a year to do it or something, and I only had Casper Van Dien for 2 days, so whatever. And so this is what we ended up with, and it's garbage. And I think that's a fair way to view it. And these kind of films, when we were younger, we loved these things, and it definitely created an appreciation for the worst aspects of media, and the enjoyment you can get from those bad aspects. So no matter how bad a thing is, you can still maybe find some positive aspects of it. And this is a great movie in that sense, that there's some really low lows and there's some really great moments too, that have lived in our minds for 20 years. And if that doesn't mean anything at all, then I don't know what does. So.
Drum on it.
Oh, he's gonna attach his flashlight.
No, he's gonna hold it with his finger. Okay.
If he shoots, isn't it gonna go flying out of his hand?
It was probably I want to say that it was like a legendary B movie for us as kids, because it hit so many of the perfect things that you want for a B movie. You got your comical gore, You've got your your bad costumes, your bad acting, your terrible story. You've got your big chunks. Now and the chunks aren't even too big. They're perfect. I think they're perfectly sized chunks of conversation where you can ignore the movie and talk to your friends and stuff like that. And so,
we didn't even mention the philosophical moments when they have nothing else to do and they just start talking to each other.
oh god, it's so bad.
Because they're so awful. Yeah, they don't fit at all in the movie, but they exist.
What did he even say? You know those hunters back there really want to kill those hunters. I was actually kind of fairly surprised with Skeleton Man that my opinion on it has basically stayed the same. Like it, I was thinking maybe it was going to be way worse, than when I was a kid. But actually, it's still got the same beats, the same. And I don't know, so I'm glad to see that.
There's no extra levels to it.
Exactly.
There's no layers to it, just one layer. It's just Skeleton Man.
It's kind of
just
like
incomprehensible. So
yeah, isn't it? It's kind of like mashed potatoes or something, where it's like, it's good to know that was always mashed potatoes. It's always going to be mashed potatoes, and I know what mashed potatoes is.
A better example of stovetop stuff.
Stovetop stuff. There you go. Right.
Because remember when we were kids,
never going to change.
I fucking hated stovetop stuffing, but then I realized it's actually the exact same as always was, and I just changed as my time went on. But
it's good to know that So even though that I've changed over the years, it's like an anchor, I guess. The B movie anchor.
It's so bad. You just look at his foot. Get the light below him, so you get that lighting just right.
Look at Skeletor's walking around with his little arms. Yeah.
Just taking it.
Oh, I didn't do a single thing. Wow.
Wow.
I really thought that was gonna work. Yeah, I mean, come on, for your shitty sci-fi movie filmed in the woods, I'd give it a recommend.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it gives you hope that maybe if you had a bunch of friends
in the
out
woods,
there in the woods, you might also make something just as comprehensible as this. And you go to Party City and get a
skeleton mask,
Grim Reaper outfit, and there we go. I mean, you might also be Skeleton Man.
So Joe, did you know that the Native Americans invented the Grim Reaper?
I did not know that.
So yeah, thanks for checking out this video of us talking about Skeleton Man. Skeleton Man. Skeleton Man.
Yeah. Play the outro song.
Oh yeah.
Skeleton Man that we made. Also in that same 2000.
Yeah, I'll play the live version. Actually, I got a live version of me screaming Skeleton Man.
Yeah, that's how influential this movie was. We created music based off it. Was there some lyrics about the old man in the in the woods? Beans. It should have just been beans.
Just beans is good. Remember that, beans is good. But yeah, check out. I'm gonna try to be making more videos just like this, talking about some good old media. So thanks for checking out, and
I think our friends could use a nice swim. Get out, go, and don't let me see your mangy hide around here again. Brainless idiots, you couldn't even beat a motley group of gnomes. I have you now, you muscle-bound oaf.